Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we'll uncover what happens when Quan explodes after Nam lets Trin get dangerously close to him, while Tieu Lac keeps running farther away from his world. Can their love survive before distance and misunderstanding tear them apart? If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next episodes. The moment Trin left the coffee shop, the air around Quan changed completely. A few seconds earlier, everything had still looked controlled. Trin had spoken politely. Nam had stood beside the table with his head lowered. The project documents were still neatly arranged in front of them, as if this was only a normal business discussion that had gone a little off track. But Quan knew better. This was not just about a project inspection. This was not just about a delayed acceptance schedule. And it definitely was not just a coincidence that Trin had suddenly appeared beside Nam, asked the right questions, heard the right information, and somehow ended up with a perfectly reasonable excuse to walk straight into Quan's work again. Quan did not say anything at first. He simply picked up the documents from the table, one stack after another, placing them back into the folder with a quiet, controlled movement. But the calmer he looked, the more pressure Nam felt pressing down on him. Nam had followed Quan for years. He knew exactly what the silence meant. If Quan raised his voice immediately, maybe the situation would have been easier to face. At least anger would be clear. At least Nam would know where he stood. But Quan's silence was colder than anger. Finally, Quan looked up. Nam. Just one word, but Nam immediately straightened his back. Yes, sir. Quan's eyes were sharp, and his voice was low. Do you know what you just did? Nam lowered his head. I'm sorry, sir. I was careless. Careless? Quan repeated, almost as if the word itself was not enough to describe what had happened. You gave Trin an official reason to stand beside me. Nam's face tightened. He had already realized his mistake the moment Trin suggested that she would personally inspect the project. But hearing Quan say it directly made the mistake feel even heavier. I thought because the project involved her father's company, she might be able to help us get an answer faster. Nam explained carefully. I didn't think she would use it to involve herself. Quan let out a short breath. That is exactly why you should have thought before answering. Nam went silent. Quan closed the folder in his hand, the sound landing sharply on the table. Trin is not just a representative from Uncle Tung's side. You know that. Everyone around me knows that. My father wants her near me. Her family wants her near me. And now, because of one conversation, she can appear at the project site tomorrow and say she is only doing her job. His voice did not rise, but every sentence hit harder than the last. Nam felt the weight of it clearly now. The problem was not that Trenaf knew about the project. The problem was that Trena had found a door. And once that door opened, it would be difficult to close it without creating a bigger conflict between both families. Quan turned his eyes toward the street outside the glass window. Cars were still moving. People were still walking past. The city continued like nothing had happened. But inside Quan, something was already burning. He had been trying to keep everything separate. The company was the company. His father's pressure was his father's pressure. Trin was someone he needed to avoid carefully, politely, without creating a public scene. And Tieu Lac. Tieu Lac was the person he could not stop thinking about, even when he told himself that business came first. But now, everything was beginning to tangle together. Trin had stepped into the project. His father would surely support it. And once Trin became involved in the inspection, Quan would be forced to meet her again and again under the name of work. Quan turned back to Nam. From now on, anything related to Trin goes through me first. Do not answer her questions casually. Do not give her project information unless I approve it. And do not let her use business as a way to get close again. Nam nodded immediately. Yes, sir, I understand. Quan's jaw tightened. And one more thing. Nam looked up carefully. Quan's eyes became even colder. Do not mention Tieu Lac in front of anyone connected to my father or Trin. Nam's breath stopped for half a second. He had only said Tieu Lac's name once earlier, almost without thinking, but clearly Quan had not missed it. Yes, sir, Nam said quietly. I won't. Quan picked up the folder and walked out without another word. Nam followed him in silence, but the guilt in his chest did not ease. He knew Quan was angry because of Trin, but he also knew there was something deeper behind that anger. Quan was not only trying to protect the project, he was trying to protect the last little space that still belonged to Tieu Lac. And at that same moment, far away from the company, Tieu Lac was trying to make sure Quan would not be able to find her at all. Her new life had begun, but nothing about it felt simple. After selling corn at the market, Tieu Lac counted the money again and again, pressing the small bills carefully between her fingers. It was not much. After buying a few simple things they needed, there was even less left than she had hoped. But still, it was money she had earned herself. That should have made her feel proud. Instead, as she stood near the edge of the market with the empty basket in her hands, the first thought that came to her mind was not about the money. It was about Quan. If she kept coming here to sell corn, what if Quan came back to the farm and started looking for her? What if he asked around? What if someone remembered her face and told him where she had gone? The market was not too far, the road was not too hidden, and people always talked more than they realized. Tieu Lac lowered her eyes. Next time she might need to find another place to sell. A farther market. A place where no one knew her. A place where even if Quan searched, he would have to search longer. That thought hurt more than she expected, because leaving Quan was already painful enough. But avoiding him, hiding from him, choosing each step carefully so he could not reach her, that felt like tearing her heart away little by little. Still, she could not turn back. Not yet. She had promised herself that she would no longer depend on him. She had promised herself that she would live by her own hands, earn her own money, and repay what she owed. So even if her chest felt heavy, she carried the basket and walked away from the market. Later, Tieu Lac found a small spring not too far from the temporary house. The water was clear enough to see the stones underneath. It flowed quietly between the grass and the roots of old trees, cool against her fingers when she knelt down and touched it. There were not many people around. That made her pause. Maybe this place could be useful. She could wash clothes here, maybe bathe here when no one was nearby. She could carry water back if needed. In the past, these small things had never felt like problems. At the farm, there was a familiar routine, a familiar basin, a familiar space where she knew what to do. But now, every small part of life had to be calculated. Where to wash clothes, where to get water, where to sell corn, where to hide if someone came asking questions. A new life was not only about courage, it was also about surviving all the tiny details that no one else noticed. Tieu Lac rolled up her sleeves and washed a few pieces of clothing carefully in the spring. Her hands moved through the cool water, rubbing the fabric again and again. She tried to focus only on the task in front of her, but her mind still drifted back to Quan. Was he angry after reading her letter? Had he returned to the farm yet? Had he found the box of money she left behind? Or was he still in the city, surrounded by documents, meetings, and people like Trin? Tieu Lac pressed her lips together and twisted the water from the clothes. She had no right to ask those questions anymore. She was the one who left. She was the one who chose distance. And yet, even after walking away, her heart still kept turning back. When the rain started again, Tieu Lac quickly gathered the wet clothes and rushed back to the small house. Luckily, she made it inside before the rain became too heavy. The house was simple, almost too simple. The wooden walls were old. The floor creaked in a few places. The roof sounded fragile whenever rain struck it harder. But for now, it was shelter. Tieu Lac placed the clothes aside and looked around quietly. Maybe she would have to stay here for a long time, at least until she saved enough money, at least until she found somewhere safer, at least until Quan stopped looking for her, if he was looking for her at all. That thought made her chest ache. She sat down beside the small table, and her mind returned to the money she had left in the box for Quan. It was not enough, not even close. Compared to the amount Quan had once used to help her family, the money she returned now was almost nothing, but it was a beginning. Tieu Lac folded her hands together tightly. She would work. She would save. Little by little, coin by coin, sale by sale, she would gather enough. And when that day came, she would go back and find Quan. Not to ask him to forgive her, not to ask him to take her back, only to return everything she owed. Only then, maybe, would she finally be able to stand in front of him without feeling like she had taken too much from his life. A while later, the smell of grilled corn slowly filled the room. It was simple, warm, familiar. Tieu Lac turned the corn carefully over the small fire, watching the kernels change color as the heat touched them. This should have been a peaceful moment. A small meal after a long day, a sign that even in a strange place, she could still take care of herself. But the smell only made her think of the farm, and thinking of the farm made her think of Quan. No matter how far she tried to run, his shadow still followed her. Tieu Lac lowered her head, holding the corn in both hands. She had left him, but her heart had not learned how to leave. Back in the car, Quan did not speak for a long time. Nam sat in the front passenger seat, holding the project folder tightly on his lap. The driver kept his eyes on the road, not daring to look in the mirror too often. The city outside kept moving, but inside the car, the atmosphere was so heavy that even breathing felt careful. Quan stared out the window. On the surface, he looked calm again. But Nam knew that calm was dangerous. He had seen Quan handle difficult negotiations. He had seen him face pressure from directors, partners, and even his own father without losing control. Quan was the kind of man who could keep his voice steady while everyone else in the room panicked. But today was different. Because Trin had not only stepped into the project, she had stepped into the space Quan had been trying to keep guarded. Nam finally spoke in a low voice. "Sir, I'll fix this. I'll contact Mr. Tung's side and make sure everything goes through the proper process." Quan did not look at him. "How?" Nam paused. Quan turned his head slightly, his eyes cold. "Trin already said she would speak to her father. If Uncle Tung agrees, she will become the representative. Once that happens, can you tell her not to come? Can you tell her she has no right to inspect her own family's project?" Nam had no answer. That was the problem. Trin had moved too cleanly. She had not forced anything. She had not created a scene. She had only taken advantage of a gap that already existed. And Nam had handed that gap to her. Quan leaned back, his fingers tightening slightly around the edge of the folder. "I trusted you because you know what should be said and what should not be said." Nam lowered his head. "Yes, sir. But today, you forgot." The words were not loud. Still, they struck harder than shouting. Nam's chest tightened with guilt. "I'm sorry, sir." Quan's voice finally sharpened. "Sorry does not close a door after someone has already walked through it." The driver's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Nam went completely silent. For the first time that day, Quan's restraint cracked. The anger he had been pressing down since the coffee shop finally came through his voice. "You know my father is already pushing Trin here toward me. You know Trin has been waiting for any chance to get close. You know I have been keeping distance. And yet, you sat across from her and told her exactly where the opening was." Nam's face turned pale. "I didn't think that is the issue," Quan cut in. "You didn't think." The car fell silent again. Quan closed his eyes for one moment, as if forcing himself to hold back the rest of his anger. When he opened them again, his voice was lower, but the pressure did not disappear. "If this were only about work, I would not be this angry, but it is not only work. Every choice now affects something else. My father, Trini, the company, the project, and Tieu Lac." The moment he said her name, something in his expression changed. It was small, almost invisible, but Nam saw it. Quan also realized he had said too much. He turned his face back toward the window. Forget it. But Nam could not forget it, because now he understood clearly. Quan's anger was not only because Trin had found a way into the project. Quan was angry because every step Trin took toward him might push Tieu Lac even farther away, and Tieu Lac was already gone. Far from the city, Tieu Lac woke before the world around her became noisy. The small house was still quiet. The air inside smelled faintly of wood, damp clothes, and the corn she had grilled the night before. For a few seconds after opening her eyes, she forgot where she was. Then reality returned. This was not the farm. Quan was not nearby, and she could not go back. Tieu Lac sat up slowly and looked at the small pile of things beside her. There was not much. A few clothes, the basket, some corn, a little money wrapped carefully in cloth. This was her new life now. Simple, uncertain, and fragile. She washed her face with water she had brought back from the spring, then packed the corn into the basket again. Today she did not go back to the same market. The thought had stayed with her all night. If she kept appearing in one place, someone might remember her. If someone remembered her, Quan could ask. If Quan asked, he might find her. And if he found her too soon, she was afraid her courage would disappear. So Tieu Lac chose another road. It was longer and less familiar. The path curved past trees, rough stones, and small patches of wild grass. She carried the basket with both hands when the road became uneven, careful not to let the corn fall. Every few steps, she looked behind her. No one was following, but she still could not relax. Running away was strange. Sometimes there was no one behind you at all, but your heart still felt chased. By memories, by regret, by the voice of the person you had left behind. When Tieu Lac reached the new market, it was busier than she expected. People moved between stalls, calling prices, choosing vegetables, bargaining loudly. For a moment, she felt small standing at the edge with her basket. At the old market, at least she had started to learn where to sit. Here, she knew nothing. Still, she found a narrow, empty space near a vegetable stall and placed the corn down carefully. Her voice was quiet at first when she called to customers. Too quiet. Almost no one heard her. So she forced herself to speak a little louder. Fresh corn, good corn, not expensive. A woman stopped and bought 2. Then an older man bought 3. Little by little, the basket became lighter. Each small sale gave Tieu Lac a little more strength. This was difficult, yes, but it was possible. She could survive. She could earn money. She could build a life that did not depend on Quan's protection. But just as she was counting the remaining corn, she heard 2 people nearby mention the company in the city. At first, she did not pay attention. Then she heard Quan's name. Her fingers froze around the money. The 2 customers were talking casually, saying that the Quan family's project was almost finished and that the daughter of Mr. Tung might personally join the inspection. Someone laughed and said that if Trin and Quan kept appearing together, perhaps the 2 families would become even closer soon. Tieu Lac lowered her head immediately. Her chest tightened so suddenly that she almost forgot to breathe. Trin. Again, that name. She told herself not to listen. She told herself it had nothing to do with her anymore. But her hands still trembled as she placed the money back into the cloth. So this was what Quan's world looked like now. Business, family arrangements, important projects, and Trinners standing beside him with a perfect reason. Maybe that was how things should be. Maybe Tieu Lac leaving had only made everything easier. The thought hurt so much that she quickly packed the remaining corn. Even though there were still customers walking past, she could not stay there anymore. She carried the basket and left the market before anyone could ask why she was leaving so early. On the road back, rain clouds gathered again. Tieu Lac walked faster, but the road seemed longer than before, and the basket felt heavier even though there was less inside. Her shoes slipped slightly on the damp ground. She gripped the handle with both hands and kept moving. She could not cry here. Not on the road, not where strangers could see. When she finally reached the small house, rain began falling behind her like a curtain closing over the world she had just escaped from. Tieu Lac stepped inside, placed the basket down, and leaned one hand against the wooden wall. Only then did her tears fall. She had told herself she was leaving to become independent. She had told herself she was doing the right thing. But hearing that Trin might stand beside Quan officially made the distance between them feel real in a way it had not before. Tieu Lac wiped her face quickly, almost angrily. No, she had no right to be hurt. Quan had his life. his family, his responsibilities, and she had chosen her own path. She took out the small cloth of money and counted it again. Not enough, still far from enough. But she whispered to herself, "I'll earn it back. Every coin, every debt, every kindness. She would return it all." And when that day came, she would stand in front of Quan one last time, give him everything she owed, and leave without looking back. But even as she made that promise, her hand slowly moved to her chest, because deep down she knew the truth. Leaving once had already broken her heart. Leaving him a second time might destroy it completely. At the same time, in the city, Quan received the message he had expected but did not want. Uncle Tung had agreed. Trin would join the project inspection. Quan read the message once, then again. His expression became frighteningly still. Nam stood beside him, not daring to breathe too loudly. After a long silence, Quan placed the phone on the desk. "Prepare the inspection materials," he said. Nam nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." Quan looked at him. "And after that, send someone to check the farm." Nam's eyes lifted in surprise. Quan's voice became quiet. "Do not alert anyone. Do not let my father know. Just find out whether Tieu Lac is still there." Nam understood immediately. "Yes, sir." Quan turned toward the window. Outside, the city looked bright, busy, and full of direction, but his heart had already left the office. It had gone back to a small farm, a quiet house, and the girl who might already be running farther away from him with every passing day. And for the first time, Quan felt something close to fear. Not because of Trin, not because of the project, but because if Tieu Lac truly wanted to disappear, even all his power might not be enough to bring her back.